Okay, so today we're going to be talking about more complicated quadratic functions and graphing quadratic functions that have that b term, that linear term there. Okay, in section 9.1, we ignored that. Okay, it was just ax squared plus c. So I mentioned in that video that that b term, that linear term, kind of throws everything off a little bit. It moves things around. So when we are doing this, there are going to be 5 steps that we're going to be doing in order to graph those that do have a b term there. But before we get to those, just some basic vocabulary here. Okay, so notice how this particular graph that I've drawn out for us, you have your U shape here. It's not centered on the y-axis anymore. Okay, now it's centered over here. It's got this little green dotted line through the middle of it. Okay, well, first of all, the U shape, okay, that is called a parabola. That is the name for that U shape. So the graph of a quadratic function, that U shape is called a parabola. Okay, so we need to know that. The axis of symmetry, if you just think about it, what does symmetry mean, right? And then axis, just like you have your x-axis, just like you have your y-axis, that's a line. So in this case, the axis of symmetry is the vertical center of the, and I'm just going to write the U. Okay, so this vertical line right here, this is your axis of symmetry. All right, the red U is the parabola. Okay, the vertex is the highest or lowest point on the parabola. Okay, in this example, it's right here. The vertex is on the axis of symmetry. There's only one of them. Okay, so that's the point that's either going to be, in this case, the lowest because the parabola opens up. If the parabola opened down, then that would be the highest point. Okay, x-intercepts and the y-intercept, that should make sense, right? The x-intercepts are where the graph crosses the x-axis, and the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So there's only one of these. There can be up to 2 of these. There are specific cases where there is less than that, but for right now, and actually we're not even going to worry about the x-intercept quite yet, but all right, so that's just some basic vocab. As I mentioned, there are going to be 5 steps to graphing a quadratic. We're actually not going to, we're going to ignore the 5th step right now. The first step is to find the axis of symmetry. Now, in order for us to do that, there's a little formula that we use. X is equal to negative b over 2a. Well, what the heck? Where are we getting a, b, and c? Well, it comes from the standard form. A is always in front of the x squared term, the quadratic term. B is in front of the x term, and c is the constant. Okay, so negative b over 2a, we just plug that in. That tells us what x coordinate we draw our vertical line for our axis of symmetry. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is to find the vertex. As I mentioned, the vertex is on the axis of symmetry. So what we have to do is we take the number that we got from the axis of symmetry, because this will be a number, and we plug it into the equation for x. All right, that'll tell us what y is equal to on that x coordinate. That tells us where the vertex is. Okay, step 3 is the easiest step out there. It's to find the y-intercept. Now, if you think about it, on the y-axis, what does x equal? Well, it equals 0. Okay, so if you plug 0 into this equation here, you get a times 0 squared, which is 0, plus b times 0, which is 0, and you're left with c, because c isn't being times by 0. So whatever c is, that tells you the y-intercept of the function. And then you are going to reflect this y-intercept over the axis of symmetry. You're going to take this point and you're going to reflect it over the axis of symmetry. Okay, to about right there. And then, like I said, there is step 5, which is to find the x-intercepts. We're not there yet. So we're just going to ignore that for right now. But I just wanted you to have that written down, that there is a 5th step for this. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay, I've got 2 problems here. All right, step 1, axis of symmetry. You use x is equal to negative b over 2a. All right, before we even begin, going to be helpful if we identify what a, b, and c are. All right, so a is always in front of x squared. Well, there isn't a number, so that means it's 1. B is the number in front of the x. Well, it's not just a 6, it's a negative 6. Okay, so don't forget the negative sign. And c is 4. So we're going to use the negative 6 and the 1. We plug them into the equation here. X is equal to negative 6 over 2 times 1. So negative 6 is positive 6 over 2 times 1, which is 2. So x is equal to 3. Okay, so on your little graph that you're totally prepared and have drawn out ahead of time, okay, x is equal to 3 tells you that that's the axis of symmetry. So on 3, you draw your little vertical line. Okay, so our parabola, our u, is going to be centered on that line. Okay, step 2, find the vertex. You take this number, 3, and you plug it into the equation for x. So y is equal to 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 4. 3 squared is 9. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18 plus 4. 9 minus 18 is negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. So on this axis of symmetry, you have to go down 5. Don't put it on the y-axis. That's a common mistake. Put it on the axis of symmetry. That's your vertex. Okay, 3, negative 5. All right, so that's step 2. A little word of warning. If you get step 1 wrong, you're going to get step 2 wrong because you're plugging in the wrong number. Okay, so be very, very careful doing step 1. Step 3, the y-intercept. Like I said, step 3 is the easy one. All you have to do is look at the equation. It's the value of c. So 0, 4. So on your graph here, on the y-axis, you have a point on 4. Okay, and then step 4 is to reflect. Again, another common mistake would be to take this point and try to move it over here. Well, that's wrong. This is the center point. You have to take the y-intercept and reflect it over the axis of symmetry. Okay, if I were to fold this paper right on that axis of symmetry there, they should equal. So I'm 3 spaces to the axis of symmetry, so I have to go over 3 more past it and put my point over there. And that creates my little u. Okay, more or less. Okay, so with these problems that we're doing today, you're only going to be graphing 3 points: the vertex, the y-intercept, and its reflection. All right, but in order to do the vertex, you have to find the axis of symmetry. So there's 4 steps to each of these problems. Okay, one last one. Again, if you want to try it on your own first, pause the video and do so. Otherwise, right away before we do anything, figure out what a, b, and c are. A is in front of x squared. Well, there's just a negative sign. Okay, well, that means it's negative 1. B is going to be 4, and C is negative 2. All right, step 1, axis of symmetry. X is equal to negative b over 2a. So, negative 4, okay, it's positive this time, so you don't have to worry about the double negative, times 2 times negative 1, which becomes negative 4 over negative 2, which is positive 2. Okay, so before you even move on, draw your little graph. And x is equal to positive 2 as your axis of symmetry. Okay, so that's the center line of your parabola here. Step 2, find the vertex. What do? You plug this number in. So y is equal to negative and then 2 squared plus 4 times 2 minus 2. Again, follow your order of operations. Don't be silly. You square the 2 first and then you make it negative. It's not negative 2 squared. It's 2 squared and then negative. So this is negative 4 plus 8 minus 2. So negative 4 plus 8 is positive 4 minus 2 is just 2. Okay, so on the axis of symmetry, your vertex is 2. Okay, step 3, easiest one, y-intercept. What is it? Well, it's negative 2. It's the value of c. So you come over to your y-axis and you put a point there. But wait a minute, wait. If I reflect the point over here, my parabola is going to be upside down. Yeah, that's the point. If this leading term is negative, then it is going to be upside down. Okay, so step 4, you reflect. Take the y-intercept and reflect it over the axis of symmetry. Okay, it's 2 units away, so go 2 more units to the other side and draw your beautiful little parabola there. All right, so 4 steps, really 1 equation that you have to worry about. That's it.